Thanks, Jeff and Jen. Good morning, everyone. A very lovely morning to all the audience, those who took the pain of waking up early on a Saturday morning, right? Of course, we are the presenters, but kudos to you guys that you are able to dedicate your Saturday morning for your learning and investing on yourself. So, with that, a great stage in the context that Sarvesh set it up. I want to take and present some of the point of views around pharma R&D, especially and how data science or AI or machine learning, etc., are playing a vital role into that. So, but taking starting with the presentation, but before I jump into that, let's take a pause and think about pharma R&D as what it is. And I don't understand, to be honest, when I started my career or as an outsider, I never knew what a pharmaceutical industry means to me, etc. Right, and the basic thing in during my early days, I was able to learn was from the sports. So for me, pharma R&D is like a test match, a test cricket match. Like in India, we all are cricket lovers. So a test match goes as long as for 5 days, right? And even if it looks like that everything towards the last day, you only discover that, hey, there is no result at all. You didn't go anywhere, right? You might have very, very high projections, high ideas, high aspirations to do something, but in a sense, you were not able to achieve a result, right? Just because it's very similar to pharma R&D, after years of efforts, you might discover that a bad clinical result has come up. And so we are not going anywhere, and many R&D projects never see the day of light. So with that, of course, pharma R&D is a very great thing. Just want to focus on some of the challenges that we are facing today, right? Think about the opportunity. In terms of opportunity, we are not seeing those many opportunities or blockbuster opportunity, which I should call. It has reduced by a huge margin, right? And you can see on the graph on the left that how it is declining. And as if that was just the beginning, the first thing, right? The second thing is, even if you know the opportunity area, it's very highly difficult to recruit the relevant patients today for the clinical trial, right? They are distributed across geographies, their DNA varies, their lifestyle varies, their symptoms varies, etc. Right? Line of treatment, again, some controls around line of treatments, the healthcare reforms kicking in across the globe, governments trying to take a regulatory control about the pharmaceutical and the overall healthcare, larger healthcare, right? Only to make the life difficult for the pharma industry, right? And thus, the overall cost gets escalated too much because regulators don't want to approve any drug whatsoever, which might be misleading in terms of their patent or the copyright or the intellectual properties, right? Similarly, as if that was not all for a company or pharma company, then there is a competition, right? All the pharma major giants, there is a very huge, strong R&D competition with very deep pockets, right? So overall, in a nutshell, the R&D is becoming day by day a difficult gameplay, right? So, and to be honest, from the test match scenario, it is moving towards, if yesterday it was one day, today or tomorrow it's going to be a 2020 very soon, right? And we will see how the space is rapidly changing and getting disrupted. And that's where the last bullet that I wanted to highlight here was the emerging technologies, whether it is not just data science, but across, and we will learn throughout the day, along with the data science, how data space or data management space is changing itself, right? How the digital penetration is increasing and going to reach the overall pharma R&D, right? So with that, moving next, as I said, we are going to learn about some few key spaces in the life cycle of pharma R&D, how data science is going to be is disrupting the market, and what are some of the emerging trends and where the world is moving in terms of pharma R&D, right? And I'll try to touch base on various aspects of pharma R&D, right? Because my intent was to talk as diverse as I could be. Now, moving next, if you think about quantum computing is a new phenomena in the market, right? From classical computers, we have moved to the quantum computing, which is more of the which is more of the parallel classical computers, which were only running on binary 0, 1, which can only take at any moment a value of 0 or a 1. Quantum computing disrupts that space because at any moment or any point of time, there are parallel layers which could be 0 and simultaneously 1, right? So that doesn't gel well. It's not a very easy concept to understand, but yes, that is going to increase the computational ability manifold, right? And that's the reason that why some of the giants like IBM, Google, they are investing very, very heavily in this particular space, right? So it's not just the pharma players, but it's more of the technology players which are heavily investing into quantum computing, and which is disrupting the overall drug discovery. If I say and that is just an example where quantum computing come up, right? Some of the known pharma examples, if I were to qualify, is AstraZeneca AI thing, right? Around chronic kidney disease. So what they are trying to do is they have gone into a long-term collaboration to use artificial intelligence, right? That how it can speed up, how it can help the company, help the industry to combine the data and come up with the meaningful insight, which is going to be approved by the regulator as well, right? So they have got themselves into that. Similarly, the other companies, Exhalate for Cove or Relaxofen, right? The osteoporosis drug, they have going for that, for COVID-19 especially, right? And that's on a very rapid pace that R&D is being done. All because of the quantum computing is becoming more and more a reality, right? And the fact is, as quantum computers becomes more and more readily available, right? Now the molecular processing, which is highly limited in terms of the combination to degree of n, then tomorrow, once the quantum computing or computers is readily available, it would be, trust me guys, it would be more of the n to the power k, right? K could be anything. We don't know ourselves right now what it will be. But yes, that's the very first thing around drug discovery, right? That you will notice that how it is overall fast, speeding up the overall research. The other aspect that we have seen around drug discovery, my experience is around drug repurposing, right? We all know that the world is the global pandemic, COVID-19, how it has affected us. Think about what made scientists think or doctors think that HCQ, where India scored brownie points with global countries, was useful, which is an anti-malarial drug, that it could be useful in COVID, right? Similarly, the other drugs the remdesivir could be potentially useful, and that's a company dropped their copyright and they said, hey, anybody can produce, will not penalize you for breaching the IP, right? So those kind of discoveries were only possible because we are able to relate the existing drugs to the newer disease space, such like COVID-19, right? And this is all happening because with the help of artificial intelligence or machine learning only, because you are able to simulate many of the things in your lab itself without even real patients, right? You only have very handful of data, small data, but you are able to boost it. You are able to analyze and draw some inferences, might not be conclusive, but a very good point to start with, right? And it's not only limited to the COVID-19 space, right? If you read about, right, what is happening around the overall, there are n number of companies or universities which are spending time that, hey, where exactly the existing molecules or the drugs can have be repurposed in different capacities, right? Like MIT has done a great job, especially with respect to the helicin, which is a new drug, right? And again, it is a sort of antibiotic resistance, right? But they are investing their time and energy, right? And the clinical trial speed is not that. Not every time you're deploying a human clinical trial fast to repurpose a drug, right? It was not possible until yesterday. So that's the very first thing you will see around drug discovery, that on one side, the technology evolution And the second side is the like how the industry is adopting. So yes, people do say pharma industry has been lagging behind by 20 years. Not anymore, to my sense, like because the point of inflection has come where pharma industry is gearing up towards adopting to the newer technology much sooner than later, right? And not becoming lying behind, much behind, right? Now, so overall, like as I said in the very first slide, that there is the emerging technology, which is an answer to the many of the challenges or opportunities which pharma R&D space or pharmaceutical industry is facing in terms of coming up. So because of multiple n number of reforms, regulatories, policies, etc., as cost is getting elevated, it was evident for the industry to come up with a strategy that how you can control the cost escalation or acceleration, right? So for that, what is happening? People have started focusing on the emerging technologies, and what I tried to do it here was, it is across the life cycle of the pharma R&D. It's not just limited to one space, right? On clinical data management side, like, the newer technologies like big data, be it cloud like Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud, etc., right? That is revolution. How you can process the data, how you can faster mine the data, how you can deal with the unstructured data, right? You don't have to create a structured data or tables always. And we do have a subsequent session around big data just after my session. So I'll not go and steal the next presenter's thunder, but definitely wanted to touch upon how this data evolution or the data technology is changing, and that is enabling the R&D. Not only that, right? There is the data generation itself has been disrupted with all the different kind of technologies, digital technologies out there, right? Be it some of the sensors, be it around the health apps, which keeps on counting like how many steps you are walking. And we'll be taking a deeper dive around that again in the subsequent slides. But there are devices as well, like the wearable, nearable, hearable, etc. Right? But the core thing, right? Even if you talk about the core R&D or the clinical trial management, that is like the space where blockchain has disrupted, right? Earlier, there are two advantages about blockchain. One, it is very, very smooth and fast, right? You can store the data into a distributed system, which makes it potentially untrackable. So your data is completely safe. On the same time, right? It's not just safe and secure, but also it has done is like different stages of trials and cohorts. That could be stored in multiple systems. Having said that, still you can relate in one shot what is happening around. Right? Guys, if you can be on mute, that would be great. I'm getting some background noise. Thank you. Even the business workflow documents, or especially the clinical notes, right? With the use of artificial intelligence or machine learning, right, vis-a-vis the natural language processing, is overall capable enough to shorter the time to market. So the speed to market is something which is happening, right? So with that, moving next, now you have all the technologies, you have so much of how people are going towards the computational power, you have the new devices, you have the new data management, you have a lot more, you can recruit the patients, you can analyze the data, you can analyze even the unstructured clinical notes, etc. Right? Is something which is the next step was around how do I personalize this? How do I use it for pharma industry to personalize the overall experience, right? And that's where exactly the precision medicine comes in, right? And the point here is the personalized or precision medicine, what it is typically called, is something medicine for you at a time, right? So it could be medicine for Sarvesh, medicine for your opinion, medicine for Abhay, could be entirely vastly different because we are three distinct individuals, right? So far, it's all the pharma industry has been running on one size fits all when it comes to a disease. That is going to change, and it has started in baby steps. In next 3 to 4 years, what I expect to see is it is going to greatly getting going to get disrupted, right? And next 10 years, by 2030, once the genome mapping of all the human beings on the planet is covered, we will see there are robots, or there are mapping it and giving you the medicine dosage according to your genomics or the profile or the persona that you carry, right? So that's more of the the vision, or the sounds like a sci-fi movie, but we are not far from that stage either, right? The way it is happening today, that some companies have started already mapping out the genetic profiles. IBM has run a big experiment around mapping the genomes and how one gene moved from across the globe, right? Before it came to the current country or current origin that you are in, right? Now, IBM started it around 15 years back. And in the pharma industry, right? In the pharma industry, there is a company, SciAps, which is more of a precision medicine platform, which has been doing that and trying to mapping the people's profile and coming up with the more recommended one. So, the personalization is the key in terms of drug delivery, drug administer, right? And it's not only that, that you are going to, you are able to give a personalized medicine to a patient, but is he going to take it all the time? Is he going to adhere to the dosage or the schedule that is being recommended for him to cure his health? Answer is yes. Many of the emerging technologies, and on this space, I just wanted to put out as many things as possible. What is available out there in market, and everything that you see on the screen in the image is a reality, guys. You can Google it on Amazon or Flipkart or even on the global platforms. You will see that most of these things are available right now, right? There are sensors which can even see, once you take a drug, how it is changing the signal processing inside your body, whether it is the nerve signals, whether it is the different chemical reactions ongoing within your blood, etc. They can track it. We have those devices, right? I have seen that ECG device, which used to occupy a room, is getting shrunk to a palm-sized device, right? And it's an Indian startup. So it's not like that it's only happening outside, it's also happening in India in limited fashion, right? So many of these sensors, and how that is, and why these sensors are very much important for pharma industry to tap on. Because these sensors are going to enable you, whenever a new molecule is getting entered into the body, what are the changes it is bringing into it, right? Are there going to be any adverse reactions into your body, right? Once you consume a drug, is it going to happen, right? Similarly, if there is a new drug, a new disease, we can track repurposing of the new drug, right? Could be much easier with these devices, because now you can track each and everything, then how you are moving, right? So with that, it's not only the devices space, it's the other space is the data management, not just big data, but now it is moving more towards cloud, giving you immense horsepower to compute it, to analyze that data, right? To analyze that data in real time, pretty much, right? And that is going to enable you. If I have your gene sequencing, I get your lifestyle and behavioral data and physical biomarkers. I have the cloud infrastructure, computing the infrastructure, quantum computing available. I can come up with the personalized report card for you, a dashboard for you that, hey, what is going to happen to your health in coming times, etc. Right? So look at this way, it's all connected, right? Even though it sounds very scattered all over the place, cluttered. But when you start putting it in a story form, then you see it's all forms a cycle, right? Whether it is digital pill is out there, which you can take and it can keep monitoring, right? Towards end of my presentation, I just wanted to highlight some of the new players and what is happening around the world, just some examples, Actex, right? It is able with the alternate recommendation on its own, right? And based on your genetic profile, one step towards a precision medicine that, hey, what could work for you? Because I know a very similar people who had a similar gene profile, something else worked for versus what you are asking for, right? It's happening. SciAps, we have already talked about. They are into trying to sequence and map all the genome sequencing, right? UMotive is very interesting one, because they are playing in the sensors space and the patient engagement space, right? One of them is like, again, the Mayo Clinic, which is a US-based, very renowned, innovative clinic known for their innovations, right? They have more than 350 medications as of now, right, as today, where they are trying to come up with the more personalized recommendation, right? So again, into the space of precision medicine. So a lot of things are happening into the space of precision medicine, but that is not all. Natural language processing, the benevolent AI, right, which AstraZeneca has collaborated with, right, is able to mine and come up with the meaningful insights from your just doctor's notes, right? What is happening to it, right? Even the drug design and analysis, the AI is being leveraged by Accenture, right? Now, where we move next is like, towards the last, and this is my last slide, guys. Overall, if you look at everything is changing and all set to revolutionize. Having said that, we have a long way to go and transform ourselves. We have to disrupt ourselves in order to be innovative, right? As I said, from test match to the 2020, it's a long journey, right? But where the world is heading towards, I just wanted to leave you guys with a food for thought, is brain-machine interface, right? Right now, everything you have to use your hands, hand-eye coordination to deal with the machines. But think about, like, if I'm thinking here, can I not interact with the machines? And if that day it happens, how that will change the world only for better, at least in the pharma space, I can tell you that, right? So with that, the last thing that I will say, one last thing is, think it like, I did talk about the cricket from the beginning to end, but another favorite sports of mine is badminton, right? And in badminton, believe it or not, the shuttlecock, what we call, is the moving object which moves the fastest. It's not soccer, it's not cricket ball, it's not a tennis ball, it's the shuttlecock, right? And in fact, very recently, Malaysian player Tan Hung was able to score a speed of more than 306 miles, right, per hour. So that was a like shuttlecock speed during a smash that he hit. That is the kind of thing. And so badminton is all about speed and agility and flexibility. And that is exactly the core. All technologies are coming out and tech players will enable you. But we have to be much more agile and flexible and adaptive, most importantly, to bring those and to disrupt the overall pharma R&D space. With that, I close my presentation and I'm open to any question and answers. Thank you.
So thanks, Abhay, for
we can take questions.
So thanks, Abhay, for a very nice presentation. I have one question that where do you see these tech giants playing their role in pharma R&D, and do you foresee that slowly even pharma companies will become data sciences companies?
Yeah. So in fact, the categorization survey that we are pharma company, you are tech player, is going times, and it has already started, right? Amazon itself recruited one of the pharma giant CEO to come up with their pharma arm, right? And Amazon we used to know as an e-com player, right? They have already recruited. Apple, which is known for Mac computers or iPhones, they have recruited more than 30 doctors, and all of them were top-notch doctors, right? That is 2 years old news that I'm giving you, right? So Amazon is all set to jump into pharma space, right? Similarly, the CVS, which is like the pharma, acquired Aetna, and then they are also in the talks with acquiring some of the other tech companies, smaller tech companies, to revolutionize themselves. So the way I see, and Google and IBM are not far behind. They're also going to play and make their strides, right? So what is going to happen? We are going to see two things. One, pharma companies collaborating with technology companies, joining hands, because that's a way to survive. There's a theory to survive. On the same time, the demarcation that, hey, we will just do the pharma R&D, will not do technology, is going to go away, because you cannot survive if you don't have an ecosystem. So tech player is going to play a very, very heavy and major role. They have already started. once they have quantum computing, why not? What stops Google or IBM to run a clinical trial by themselves by hiring a few pharmacists? Nothing, right? So it only requires some marginal incremental investment for them. So overall, tech players will be shaping up the pharma industry, which has been, people used to say that it's 20 years behind, but I feel now the gap has reduced to 8 years, 7-8 years, and very soon it will be going away, and we will be in shoulder to shoulder with other players.
Thanks, Abhay. So there is a question from Devan, and he's saying that, Ajay, you made a mention on regulatory evolution. Is it not focusing and inclined towards subject and their experience? And then there is digital disruption. So data integrity, data protection, that is must. So what is your perspective when you see from regulatory perspective and the digital disruption perspective?
Right. And and one thing I can tell you, with the evolution of blockchain, that the safety or the security has gone many folds, right? Blockchain only knows, it has only the previous connection, it only knows the next connection and the data value. That's blockchain can get to. I can explain, right? If you take out a blockchain piece, even if if I'm a data hacker, I'm able to take a piece of chain, you cannot plug it in anywhere else other than its own spot, right? And that's the beauty of the technologies like blockchain. And that's not all, because now even the processors right now, you think about this way, that processor, but there has been experiments where HP has been able to demonstrate that, hey, we can do in-memory processing. The processor and the hard disk are getting convoluted into a single box, right? The day it happens, wherever you are processing, the data is lying there. So it will be almost impossible when you are adopting to blockchain, you're adopting to that kind of in-memory computational horsepower to steal the data. It will become minuscule. Like the chances if today is 1 out of 100, it will go 0.01 out of 100, right? So it is going to be very, very difficult. But yes, that is of utmost importance. And today we are living in the age of distributed systems. So not all data is going to be residing in one location on one machine or server, right? It is distributed across the geographies. It is distributed across the multiple servers. So even if you are able to hack into one server, you cannot make anything out of it, because that's just a piece of puzzle. You don't have the picture.
Thanks, Abhay. So there is another question from Avinash. He's from GSK, and he's asking that, how does human element play into this outside of AI and quantum computing?
Yeah. So I know, possibly that question, Sarvesh, is emerging from what will happen to humans' jobs, right? Or the insecurities that we all have as a human beings, that, hey, if machines are so smart, then what we will do, right? And that is a real threat, a few years down the line, it is going to change for sure. My perspective to that is, yes, many of the existing jobs will go away, right? Many of the existing things, it's the same thing. Earlier, a company used to, even just to create very simple, ugly looking, I'll say, from today's world, right? Very ordinary looking Excel reports. Companies used to recruit a team of 50 reporting analysts. Today, they are managing with just 5, because there is a Tableau, there is a different BI tools, Power BI, MicroStrategy, etc. Life is very simple, right? So instead of 50, I only need 5 people who are doing the reporting, and their reporting or dashboarding capabilities are by leaps and bounds above those 50 put together, right? Having said that, what has happened? Has that 45 people have become unemployed? Answer is no and yes. I'll say unemployed, yes, because reporting job went away. No, because new jobs did emerge, because now you had the power of understanding and analyzing larger data. You can take a much deeper dive into the insights and come up with the more predictive or even prescriptive analytics, right? So that's where the world is heading. So yes, I agree that once the quantum computers are a reality commercialized, not just quantum computers, the other technologies mature, within 5 to 7 years down the line, many of the existing jobs will become autonomous. And that would only mean that we have to disrupt ourselves. We have to go for learning again, and we have to disrupt ourselves to make ourselves suitable for the newer kind of jobs, right? What is not possible yet, the pandemic which happened 100 years back, we have how we can leverage that. But in coming times, that will happen. We never had dealt with gigabytes of data, like, with the wearable smart watches. Think about every second I'm recording your heartbeat, what kind of data I'm able to produce. So no one has done it, right? So even if quantum computing is going to be there, how do you make the sense out of it? That's the human thing. Machines are like far, far, far away, at least 50 to 70 years away from making the sense out of it, right? As humans do, right? So that is the thing where we have to disrupt ourselves, and we have to keep it in mind. It's the common sense, it's the critical thinking, is the overall human ability, right? Which differentiates ourselves. It's not going to be hard skills necessarily. It would be more of the softer skills, which will be keeping you employed, and humans will be thriving the machines through that.
I think the very good points actually, and I would like to add on to it because I was reading an article on human evolution, and what that article said is that we started in the forest, and then came the agriculture age, where it was more of your physical muscular power, right? So person who is more powerful physically will be the great agriculturist, and will be growing a lot of grains and fruits in the fields, right? And then came the industry age, and in that people, it's not necessary that somebody who is physically powerful will be actually making money. In industry age, people started using machines, and then we moved on to the third age, which is going on at the moment, and that is information age. So in agriculture age and industry age, very few people had the right information. But in today's world, the information which any great thought leader has in the world is available on Google. You go and search it, you will get it. So I think that slowly we are transitioning to imagination age. And in imagination is the people with great ideas. They will be the ones who will be making money. They will be the ones who will have huge demand in the market. So I think people who have not yet thought of that what they want to do in their life, they will be sort of lagging behind in the years to come, because they will just go and search on whatsoever is coming, and they will feed their brains with whatsoever is coming their way. So I think if we really want to be relevant in years to come, then first and foremost thing is that we should go back and determine that what we want to achieve in life, and by when we want to achieve that. Second thing is that once we have decided that this is what we want in life, then we should ask the second question, that am I consuming the right information to generate right thoughts that will take me there by the time I want to be there. And then third thing is that the question which we should ask is that am I allowing only that information to reach to my brain, which will take me to the right destination? Because if people keep doing the way they are doing things in data science space, or biometrics space, or SAS programming space, or data management space, whatsoever we call it, they will not be very successful in years to come. As you rightly mentioned, that very soon these tech giants and pharma companies, they are going to come at the same pace, where they will be investing a lot in terms of technology. Like pharma companies and tech giants, they will be investing a lot in terms of pharma R&D. So that's a good point. We still have a few more minutes. So I'll go on to the next question from Shuhas. He is also from GSK, and his question is how the regulatory authorities are endorsing this technology shift. Most of the times are restricted by regulatory rules and standards. So do you think that in such a regulated market like pharma R&D, we will be actually able to use the machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all the other beautiful things like blockchain, etc., which you just mentioned?
Right. And that's a burning question, to be honest. I agree with policymakers or regulators across the globe, right? It's not country specific, but rather it's world specific. It's always a Tom and Jerry show going on, right? The cat and mouse game always going on. you're always trying to catch up, and the regulator or the policymakers are always 2 or 3 steps behind, because they have to understand, they have to assimilate, like, they have to absorb how fast or rapidly the technology space is changing and what will be the consequences, right? All I can say, there is no one fixed answer, because in US, what it means for US versus what it means for Europe or UK especially, right? If I take for rest of the Europe, it's different. For UK, it's different. Versus what it means for Asia are entirely different things from regulators, right? In India, anybody can launch any drug with greater ease. Of course, government try to control it, but the overall the regulations are not as stringent. But if you go to Europe or US, regulators are highly stringent, right? So with that, if the question is are they going to allow blockchain and are they going to adopt to machine learning? They don't have a choice. My simple answer is they don't have a choice. In many aspects, they have already started understanding and they started hiring, and what they are doing, regulators, I can tell you from US space, being part of United Health Group, many of the regulators like CMS and the FDA, they are hiring players from the tech companies. They are hiring or tapping on some of the executives. They are leasing executives from the top tech giants, top pharma companies, to help them to frame a policy around it, right? Think about when India can opt in, adopt to e-commerce, right? When e-com companies came, there were a massive movement of retailers. Hey, Amazon should be banned, Flipkart should be banned, etc. Went on, right? Right now, 1mg net meds, everything is going on, and there is a movement going on in limited capacity where pharmacy retailers in India, they are making a movement. Hey, government, please save us from these tech giants or e-com players. But government does want, because that comes to the vote bank, but they cannot stop the technology from entering the space. Likewise, when it comes to pharma R&D, yes, they are conservative. They have been conservative, highly conservative, rather, I will say. Having said that, but now, with more and more proof of concepts, they have become much more receptive in order to accept a simulated result as a basis for granting approvals. In fact, if you go and research, in the last couple of years, there has been more than 10 plus cases where hard research or R&D was done using machine learning, right, or data science. So, and they did get the approval from FDA. So that is how the shape it is going to change. But yes, regulators are always lagging 2 or 3 steps behind the space or industry, the pace that their industry is moving with. So that is how it is.
So I think, Abhay, your message is that these things are happening and these are possible. Regulatory barriers to entry, they are high. Pharma companies, they can accelerate these things by adopting them and working closely with maybe small innovative companies, or they can just resist and then they will be replaced by new generation of pharma companies. So it's just a matter of time to see that which pharma companies are embracing versus the ones which are not embracing, and then we'll see who the winners and losers are as the things play out, right?